No worries. It's time for Brett to talk anyway. So, Brett,
Yep.
you're talking about the Z50, right?
I am. I've had the Z50 in for a couple of weeks now, and this has been a pretty interesting camera for me. Ever since it first got announced, I've almost formed some opinions about it, which I really shouldn't do, but I just couldn't help it. It's just kind of a funky little camera to me. But um, the Z50 has surprised me in a number of ways, and you're going to have to excuse me. I'm going to switch between Z and Z because the Brit. But
We have an international audience, man. It's fine.
This is
there you go.
America, Brett. Speak English.
Exactly. So yeah, it's the Z50. It's you're going to hear me say the word nice a lot, but apart from nice, you're also going to hear me say that it's got one fantastic trick up its sleeve, and there's also a big elephant in the room with this camera as well. But just one of the things I'd love to point out about this camera being an APS-C camera, and one of the things I've really hated about mirrorless APS-C cameras for quite a while is, yes, they're nice and small, but ergonomically, they're not always the best cameras to hold. And I would have to go and say that the Z50 is one of the nicest APS-C cameras to hold, just because of that nice grip on the side of this camera right there. This camera feels really nice in the hand because of this. And it actually reminds me a lot of my EM1 III. It's about the same size. The grip is nice and deep. I can get a nice purchase on it, which is important when we're going to get to these beasts later on. But this camera is really nice in the hand. I'm surprised it feels great. All the controls feel great. Everything falls nicely in place. The touch screen is nice. The capacitive controls are nice. It's just...
Oh, you're saying it's nice, Brett.
It's nice. It's a nice camera to use. And this is the deal. This is the thing. I've been trying to rack my brain out on who is this camera for? What is this camera? And, what's its trick? Because you got cameras like from APS-C cameras from like Sony that have phenomenal autofocus performance, right? And then you have cameras from Fuji that have excellent image quality with excellent JPEGs. And then so what makes this camera special? And I've used it quite a bit over the last 2 weeks, and every time I use it, I just walk away saying, it's a nice camera. I've had a nice time using it, but nothing really stood out to me about it. There wasn't one thing that really stood out to me that made me say, oh, I'd go out and buy a Nikon Z50, until I started shooting high ISO images. And that's going to be one of the tricks up its sleeve here in a little bit. But in terms of just general performance as like a walk around camera for a hobbyist or an enthusiast, this is a great camera. The autofocus system is not the best, but it's great. It's nice. The interface is nice. You can use the touch screen to take pictures and autofocus, and you can use it in the menus. The menus are fully touch compatible, which is something I love. And I know it's something we wish a lot more manufacturers would do as well. But yeah, it's a nice little camera to pick up and use.
Talk to us about using it for long periods of time, because I know that they were targeting it to the hobbyist and then also to the content creator. But I'm curious. I mean, I've had Nikon cameras with previous firmware updates that have felt really, really warm after long terms of use. Are you experiencing that at all with this?
No, not at all. I went out and used it for a few hours yesterday, and it was just fine. I had no issues with it at all. For Nikon to say it's for content creators, you can see an issue you have right here. The flip down screen, I have a tripod plate on the bottom, and I can't flip the screen down all the way, which for a content creator, I'd imagine that's going to be a huge problem. So I hate when you get these cameras that say they're geared towards vloggers, and they have a flip down screen that's going to get blocked by accessories. It makes zero sense to me.
Well, I mean, how's the image stabilization? Because you could always hold it like this, right?
There's no IBIS in this camera.
Oh.
Yep, no IBIS. It's a 20 megapixel sensor, 20.8 megapixel sensor, non-IBIS. But I mean, it's not terrible. I mean, and again, that's kind of why I'm trying to figure out where this camera fits into, because you can go out and get cameras in this price range that do have IBIS now. So it's kind of like this little odd duck, APS-C duck in the room that doesn't really have one killer feature to it. It's just kind of... It's
like a nice duck?
It is. You know what? It's kind of like the nice beige family sedan. It just...
Oh, geez.
it just works. Like, you go take it out, it drives you from A to B, right? The windows work, the gas works, the AC works. I mean, everything works just fine, but it's not like, wow, this is the best family sedan. It's just a nice beige one, but it's still a really nice camera.
So, I mean, now I'm even more confused because, like, the only person I know that really bought these cameras that isn't paid by Nikon is probably Kai Wong. But he uses it for video. He uses the Z6. And I could see this as, like, a backup camera, but that would be a backup camera to a camera that people aren't really buying then, and to me that doesn't really make sense. Am I alone in thinking that? Like,
no, and that's exactly my train of thought. It's like, who is this camera for? Like, I cannot figure out who this camera is for. In this price range, I think it's like what, $860, $899, something like that. You can go and get cameras that have more features that would appeal to more people. And this is, I mean, if you're a Nikon shooter and you've bought into the Z system and you want a backup camera that can use this honking mount, the Z mount, then okay, I could kind of see that. But I don't know who would just go out and buy it just to go, you know. I just don't see it.
yeah, that's sort of how I felt about some of these cameras that have been coming out in the past year. I feel like they're really just creating something just to say, oh yeah, me too, I can create this too, instead of actually trying to like innovate and make it special, you know. That thing does, I know the Z6 has raw video. Does the Z50 have that feature?
You know, I haven't looked into that yet. That's something I'll have to look into in the coming weeks.
Yeah, that makes sense. We're primarily a stills site, so I get that.
Right.
Let's take a look at some sample images, shall we?
Yeah, I mean, and this is, again, the images are, and these are almost all JPEGs. There are some RAWs in here that I have edited, but the images are nice and clean. The colors are fantastic. Normal punchy, you know, kind of oversaturated a little bit. Nikon images.
Are you using any picture profiles with them?
Nope. This is just standard profile.
Paul, I'm so glad that you asked that because these don't look like typical Nikon images.
They don't. It doesn't have that green tint that most people associate with Nikon images.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are just standard.
A part of that
profile.
could be the lens. So,
what lens are you using, Brett?
So most of these were taken with the 24 to 70 f2.8. Although I have used the 16 to 50 as well, and it's a good little lens. I mean, you're going to get good images regardless.
wait, hang on. You guys have a Coney Island too?
Yeah, I'm sitting here staring at this.
What is this fake news?
You know what's funny is I took this image and I was like, I'm going to take this just for Chris.
What is this fake news?
Seriously, I'm just sitting here
Surprise.
staring at that photo. Okay, yeah, so this looks a little bit like the typical Nikon image, but like I'm not seeing it otherwise. Like,
Yeah, I mean, they're just really, they render really nice. The colors are nice. I was quite impressed with how
I'll
the
tell you,
images
it's
were coming
sharp.
out.
yeah, it's sharp.
Yeah,
They
it's
look,
very sharp.
they have like this pastel look to them.
So these images right here in this hangar was so dark. I mean, and these were next series of images that are going to be high ISO. This is ISO 6400
Wow.
right here, and it honestly, this is what the one trick.
Jeez.
Yeah,
That's
this is
pretty
the
darn
trick.
clean.
Yeah, this is the trick up this camera's sleeve. If you need an APS-C camera that has fantastic high ISO performance, this is why you would buy this camera. The high ISO images on this camera are phenomenal. This is 12,800.
What?
Wow. So, Brett, since this is an APS-C camera, but it uses the same mount, are we dealing with the same like EF and EFS situation where it auto crops the lens if you like use a lens on an actual Z body?
I haven't noticed that.
Okay.
No, sir. And this is 25,600.
What? Okay, now I'm starting.
Okay,
to see
yeah,
some
it's
noise.
starting to be a little bit artifact.
Color noise is there, but I mean, I can still see details in the rivets around the wing. I can
Right.
see tread. I can see tread in the tires. The high ISO capabilities.
Yeah,
of
that's a
this camera,
6-foot image.
Yeah, they're phenomenal at high ISO.
And this is 6400.
That's 6400. Yeah.
This is cleaner than the X-Train sensor.
Yeah.
Actually, no. It's about on par. I'm seeing it right now. I'd like to, I'm really curious to see what these look like when you send them to me for the print test.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, until I got home yesterday from that air show, from those hanger shots, I couldn't figure out what the trick to this camera was, and it's the high ISO. It's blowing me away right now.
Dude, this is 12,800. This is cleaner than some full frame.
Yeah, it's insane, isn't it? Of course, the only caveat, I was using the 24 to 70 on this camera, and this is the downfall of this camera is you got this nice compact camera with this great grip, and then if you really want to get the best image quality out of it, you got to whack massive, great big lenses on it.
So put the 24 to 70 on there for us. Let's take a look.
Looks like another Sigma FP situation.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
That's
You've
a
got a
camera I'm going to be
camera.
so happy to send back.
You've got a camera that's a lens cap, is it?
Yeah.
So,
Paul, you haven't fixed your video issue yet?
I don't know what's going on. It's kaput.
All right.
I think the battery just drained too quickly.
So
Okay.
there you go. You've gone from a nice situation where you have a nice 16 to 50 millimeter, and you go up to a 24 to 70 f 2.8, and it turns into a chunky boy. And and that's the only problem I can see with this camera. It's the big elephant in this room. It's good and bad because it does give anyone who buys into this system a nice way to upgrade to a full frame camera later on if they've purchased Z mount lenses. But then you're using a Z mount lens on a tiny camera. You look at the front of this camera and it's nothing but lens mount. And you whack this lens on there and you suddenly you're carrying it around. But it's still relatively comfortable because of that grip. But
It doesn't feel front heavy at all.
I'm sorry, what was that?
It doesn't feel front heavy at all.
Yeah, it's very front heavy.
Oh, okay.
It's front heavy, but the grip does help because you can wrap your hand around the grip. But it's the big elephant in the room of this system is the lenses on it are going to be massive.
I'm really curious about, did they send you any, I'm putting a card in my camera right now. Did they send you, like a 35-1.8 or a 50-1.8 or something like that?
They were supposed to, and then they couldn't get them in. So I have the 16 to 50, and I have the 24 to 70 2.8.
I'm really curious to see how the primes are on there because, like, this is the prime. This is the 35-1.8. Yeah, I'm really curious.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see it too.
Yeah.
Does the Z50 use SD cards or SQDs?
It uses a single UHS-1 SD card.
UHS 1?
Just one.
Wow.
That's
okay.
just one. That's another thing I'm hating about.
Oh,
it.
Wait a second, and this is for
2015
content
code.
creators?
2015 code, guys. Come on.
Yeah, this is for content creators. It uses UHS-1, so the slowest speed you can get.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's cost cutting measure. That's
A lot of
really bad.
question marks there.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many things they could have done that could have pushed this camera over the top, like having UHS-2 or having 2 card slots, and they just kind of held back, and it hurts the camera.
Let's talk a little bit more about the autofocus because that's, I feel, one of the major problems with the Nikon Z system. So, single point autofocus or like single autofocus, like I know it's not the fastest, but have you tried tracking autofocus with this thing at all?
I have, and it was just fine. I mean, it wasn't like lightning fast like the A6000 series cameras is, but it's still nice. I mean, it does a good job. It keeps up, but it's not going to set any records. Overall, the autofocus is good. I've had no problems with it.
Oh, okay. Huh.
It's just not like, wow. It's just like, okay, this is fine.
Wait, even in low light, because like you were talking about that hanger and it being incredibly low light.
It was just fine. It was good.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really good. I was really impressed when I was.
Sounds
in
like
the
they
hangar.
finally improved, or at least learned from the Z6 and Z7.
I mean, the Z6 and the Z7, I still have problems with those things. Like, they've improved, but like Panasonic, I mean, it's pretty much still on par.
Yeah,
So,
there was no issues, man. I just straight in there, bloop, straight away. I mean, it just acquires focus almost instantly.
Huh.
Very good.
Yeah, no, that is fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm seeing your results from this camera, and like, I have so many questions. Obviously, everything that you're asking, but also like, what are they doing with the processor to make these images look so much different? And like, how did they get such a stupidly, amazingly clean high ISO. Wait, you said it's a 20 megapixel sensor or 24?
Yeah, it's like 20.8. And see, this is what made me think about trying to crank up the ISO, is because it kind of reminds me it's not a D500 replacement at all, but it has some similar traits to a D500. It's the same sort of size sensor. It can do 4K video. It can shoot 11 frames per second. So it has that in common with the D500. So that's why I kind of wanted to see what the ISO was like. And as you can see, it's really good.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's an interesting camera because I still cannot figure out who's going to go out.
849.
It's like 850 something.
That's with that kit lens.
That's not with a kit lens.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it's slightly over 900 with a kit lens, and if you get both kit lenses, it's like 1150.
That's a hard bargain at that price point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is figuring out who is this for? Who is this? Who's going to go and buy this camera? Because it would be a great backup camera for a Nikon Z shooter, but I don't.
Well, the thing is, most people that are shooting with Nikons,
Right.
you probably just, if you're going to get a backup, if you're already shooting with a 7, you get a 6.
Exactly.
If you're already shooting with a 6, you probably just get another 6 at this point, because it's not that much more,
You know, I'm listening to you guys talk, and I'm thinking, I think their strategy for this, and I mean, year after year, Canon, Nikon, Sony, they've always done this. They take their lower end APS-C cameras and they just drive the price down and they sell like hotcakes. And I think that's what's going to happen around the holidays.
Yeah.
To get people into the system so they stay with the company.
Yeah.
And that would be fine if Nikon has a decent roadmap for some APS-C lenses, because right now there's two. There's just the two. There's the 16 to 50 and the 55 to 200. And then after that, you're going up into the full frame lenses.
Right. The problem with buying into the system is you got to make sure the company's still there when you're ready to upgrade.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I hate to be the one to say, I love what Nikon done with some of the lenses, but every time they do something right, they do a lot of stuff that makes you scratch your head too. So.
Yeah. No, absolutely. The other day I was actually like, this is gonna sound so nerdy. The Nikon DF was in my dreams the other night, like that old DSLR.
Of course I would.
Yeah, I was dreaming about that camera, and it's crazy because my first experience holding that thing, I was like, I don't like this. Like, it seemed like it was so great. There was so much hype about it when it was being released, and I ended up not liking it. And I really wonder if Nikon took the retro aesthetic appeal route, how much they would stand out. Because, I mean, Fujifilm, they got that. Olympus, to a certain point, has that. Sony doesn't have it. They're more modern. Canon's more modern. I don't know, because, like, this is a new audience for them, Like, so why don't they be even more experimental?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree.
I think that's a question you got to run up the flagpole to Japan.
Yeah,
and I will never get an answer.
Yep.
Yeah, they've definitely got to do something to make themselves stand out, because right now, like I say, they're just they're the sensible beige family sedan, and it's not doing much for them.
Yeah, it's crazy because I've been working on this one article about Nikon's AI, because they have like a whole bunch of it. And I've just been working on it like little by little, in the same way that I've worked on some of our longer like magazine type pieces. And I wonder like why they haven't tried to implement some of this AI into these cameras. So yeah, but yeah, I agree with you. I think they do have to find some way to really stand out. Besides, going the route of hiring like Ashton Kutcher again, like they did with the One series. You remember that?
Oh yeah,
boy.
Yeah.
Not only that, they also bought naming rights to a concert venue.
No, yeah.
Which they no longer own, so.
Yeah. It doesn't look like we have any other questions. We had some comments, and that was really about it. But, Paul, do you have any other questions for Brett?
So I just want to clarify, Brett, this camera's nice?
What would give you that idea?
I don't know. Just checking.
Yeah, it is a nice camera. It really is. I mean, it's if someone were to go and pick it up, it would do a good job for them. I mean, it's just got to be prepared to use those honking lenses on it. Really.
Yeah. It sounds like the saddest, shade of vanilla possible, though. Like,
Exactly.
because you have like vanilla, and then you have like vanilla bean, and then you have like cookies and cream, and like everyone that's smart will have to go for vanilla bean or cookies and cream. And if you go for just plain vanilla, it tastes like sadness.
No, it's
There
not.
you
It's
go.
not even plain vanilla. It's synthetic vanilla. That's what it sounds like. You don't even get the little bean pods.
Exactly. All right, guys. If that's all, then thank you so much for your time. Audience, thank you so much. We're going to cut the recording in just a bit, and then we're going to open it up to everyone else for more candid discussions if you'd like. Thank you for tuning in, everyone, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good night and happy Father's Day to all the dads out there,
Oh,
including you,
right, I
Brett.
forgot about that.
Yeah,
Including
happy
you,
Father's
Brett.
Day.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
All right, cutting the recording.